Hello everybody, Sheila the Storyteller here again with another one of my homespun tales. Now today's story is an Irish folk tale, and I've chosen it because I was reminded of it when I was pottering about in the garden at the weekend and found this wee blue flower growing. Now this story's about a wee blue flower, just like that one. But I'm not going to tell you its name yet because that might spoil the story. You see, a long time ago there was a shepherd who lived in a lovely wee house with his wife and his 4 children. Now he wasn't poor, but he wasn't particularly rich either. He had to work very hard for what he had, out every day in the fields, from morning to night, looking after the sheep in all kinds of weathers. But the day this story takes place is a lovely day, a beautiful spring day, not unlike today. And there he was out in the fields, keeping an eye on his sheep. Because you see, sheep were always getting into trouble. They were getting tangled up in bushes, or they were falling down holes and having to get hiked up with his shepherd's crook. And he had to make sure that the foxes and the wolves weren't around to take any, or that the eagles didn't take any of the wee lambs. Anyway, he'd been wandering about, checking on them all morning, and he decided it was his dinner time. So he sat down under a big tree to unpack the wee picnic lunch his wife had made for him. He laid it out on the grass. There was oatcakes and cheese, a wee bottle of milk, and a big slab of her most delicious fruit cake. And he was just about to start eating when he heard a wee voice. The wee voice said, "Oh, that's an awfully braw picnic you've got there, laddie." And he looked around, and there, sitting on a stone beside him, was a wee man all dressed in green with a bit of a beard. Now, we're in Ireland, so it was probably a leprechaun. And the shepherd says to the leprechaun, Aye, it's a braw picnic she makes me. Would you like a bite?" "Oh, aye," said the leprechaun. "Oh, aye, I would fair like a wee bite, if you can spare anything." And so the shepherd shared his lunch with the leprechaun. And they sat there for quite a while, blethering away about this and about that. And then eventually the shepherd says, "Oh, it's time I was going to see to the sheep again." And the wee man says, "But before you go, I'd like to give you a present." And he reached over in amongst the grass and he picked a wee blue flower, exactly like this one. And the leprechaun said, "Now take this, laddie, put it in your lapel. That flower is the key to your good fortune." And the shepherd thanked him and put it in his lapel, and he turned round to say cheerio, but the wee man had disappeared. So the shepherd carried on looking after his sheep, and he followed them round and round about the countryside for the best part of the afternoon. And then he realised he was in a bit of the countryside that he wasn't familiar with. At least he didn't think he'd seen it before, because over in the corner of the field there was a big grassy mound, all covered in the most bonny flowers. And he went over to investigate, and he found he could walk right round it. But when he went round the back, he noticed that there was a big slab of stone. Now, all afternoon he'd been thinking about this flower and how the wee man had said that it was a key to his good fortune. And he thought, well, it didn't look much like a key. But when he saw this big slab of stone, he thought, Could that be a door? And so he took the flower and he tapped it on the slab of stone. And sure enough, it slid to one side. Well, he dropped the flower and he went in and he found himself walking down a windy tunnel until it came to a big cave. And that cave, well, all round the sides, all round the edges, there were tables covered in snowy white tablecloths and set with plates of gold and silver and cups of gold and silver. And on these plates there was all his favourite food, and in the cups were all his favourite drinks. Now, at this point in the story, if you were here with me, I would probably ask you what your favourite food was and what you would have liked to have seen on one of these plates. But you're not here, so I'm just going to tell you my favourites. And maybe later on, at the end of the story, you can tell the people you're with what your favourite is. Anyway, I would have liked to have seen plates of fish and chips, plates of macaroni cheese, chocolate cake, ice cream, maybe some jelly. And in the cups, I would have liked to have seen hot chocolate and plenty of water as well to wash it all down. Anyway, as the shepherd gazed at this feast, he noticed that further back in the cave there were 2 thrones. And on these thrones sat a king and a queen. Well, he knew they were a king and a queen because they had crowns on. And he realised that these must be the king and queen of the fairies. And then the fairy queen spoke to him and said, "Welcome, shepherd, welcome. Help yourself to anything you want to eat or drink." And so he did. He ate some of this and he ate some of that. He drank some of this and he drank some of that until he was full. And then the fairy queen clapped her hands and the tables of food disappeared. And in their place into the cave came a harper and a fiddler and a piper and a box player. And they started to play music. And as they played music, into the cave came hundreds of fairy folk. And they began to dance to the music. Well, they hoofed and toofed all night long. And even the shepherd joined in. But as the sun began to come up, the fairy queen clapped her hands again and the music stopped. And the musicians disappeared and the fairies disappeared. And then the fairy queen stood up and said, "Come, I want to give you a gift." And she led the shepherd right to the back of the cave where there was a big chest. And when she opened it up, it was full of gold and silver coins. And then she led him to another chest. And when she opened that one up, it was full of precious jewels. Diamonds and emeralds and sapphires and pearls. And the fairy queen said, "Help yourself. Take what you need." And so the shepherd did. He filled some of his pockets with the gold and silver coins. He filled more of his pockets with the precious jewels. And then he turned and made his way out of the cave. But as he got to the entrance again, a voice came to him. A voice said, "Don't forget the most precious thing of all." And he thought, "Have I forgotten something?" And he turned round and he went away back into the cave and he had a good look. He couldn't see anything different. So he took a few more coins and a few more jewels and he turned around and he made his way back out again. But once more, when he got to the door of the cave, the voice came to him. "Don't forget the most precious thing of all." And he thought, "Well, what have I forgotten?" And he turned round and he went back again to look and he searched, but didn't see anything any different. So he took some of the coins out of a pocket and put them back and took some different ones, and he did the same with the precious stones. And then he turned around and made his way back to the entrance again. But once more the voice spoke to him and said, "Don't forget the most precious thing of all." But this time he just shrugged and says, "Well, I've got everything I need. Couldn't see anything else." And so he left. And when he stepped out into the sunshine, the door closed behind him. Well, he hurried home. He was excited. He was excited to tell his wife about their good fortune. And as he reached his gate, he put his hand in his pocket to take out a handful of coins to show her. But there weren't any coins in his pocket anymore. Nothing but golden sand that ran through his fingers. Well, he put his hand in his other pockets to take out some jewels, but there weren't any jewels there anymore. Just white chucky stains that turned to dust, and that too ran through his fingers. Well, of course he was disappointed, but he wasn't any worse off than he'd been before, so he carried on with his job. And as the days and months went by, he often thought about what had happened that day. And eventually, he began to realise that yes, he had left behind the most precious thing of all. Because you see, he'd left behind the little blue flower. And if he'd taken that with him, he could have gone back into that cave any time he wanted, any time he needed anything. But he hadn't. He'd left it behind. And from that day on, this little blue flower has been known as a forget-me-not. And that's the end of my story. Thank you for listening once again, and I'll see you on Thursday with another one of my tasty tales. And if you're wanting some more stories before then, head over to the Tag Team Tales page, where lots of my storytelling friends are sharing stories. Bye for now.